I saw her lying there, curled up on the cold cement floor, her dress torn and her face wet with silent tears. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I should say anything at all, but I knew what had happened. Her name was Amara. She came to live with us after her parents died in a car accident. My mother, her auntie, took her in, but it was never with love. From the first day, Amara was treated like a maid. She cooked, cleaned, and took care of the younger kids. Still, she never complained. She had a quiet strength, the kind that made you wonder how much pain she was hiding. But that day, everything changed. It was her uncle, my mother's brother. He came to visit, and when no one was home, he took her. I wasn't there to stop it. I only came back from school to find her like that, broken, shaking, and bleeding. I wanted to scream, to tell my mother, to call the police. But when Amara finally spoke, her voice was so soft, it felt like the wind might carry it away. "Please, don't tell anyone," she whispered. I couldn't understand. Why would she want to protect him? But I saw the fear in her eyes. It was bigger than her pain. When my mother came home, she knew something was wrong. Amara couldn't walk straight, but instead of asking what happened, my mother slapped her. "What did you do?" she screamed. "You brought shame to this house." Amara tried to explain, but my mother wouldn't listen. She called her names I wouldn't repeat. That night, she told Amara to pack her things and leave. I stood there, frozen. I wanted to beg my mother to let her stay. I wanted to tell her the truth, but my mouth refused to open. Amara didn't fight back. She gathered her few clothes in a plastic bag and walked out. It was dark, and it had started to rain. I watched her from the window, a small figure disappearing into the night. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about where she might have gone, what might happen to her. The guilt sat heavy in my chest, and I knew I had failed her. The next morning, my mother acted like nothing happened. She cooked breakfast and sent us to school as though Amara had never existed. But I couldn't forget, and I knew that somewhere out there, Amara was alone, scared, and with no one to turn to. I was just a child, but I promised myself I would find her. I would make it right. For weeks after she left, I kept looking for her. I asked neighbors, checked the market, even walked around the streets near our house, hoping to catch a glimpse of her. But she was gone. My mother had erased her like a mistake in a notebook, and everyone else acted like she had never existed. One evening, I overheard my mother and her brother talking. He sounded worried. "She might talk," he said in a low voice. "She might come back." "She wouldn't dare," my mother replied. "She has nowhere to go. No one will believe her." My hands clenched into fists. I knew then that they both knew what had happened, and they had chosen to silence her instead of protecting her. A year passed, then 2. By the time I turned 18, I had saved enough money to leave home. I couldn't stay in that house, knowing the truth. I carried my guilt with me, but I also carried a purpose. I had to find Amara. I searched for her in orphanages, in churches, in shelters. Everywhere I went, I asked about a girl with sad eyes and a broken past. No one seemed to know her. Then, one day, I saw her. She was standing outside a small restaurant, holding a tray of food, dressed in a waitress's uniform. She looked older, thinner, but it was her. I called her name, and when she turned to me, her eyes widened in shock. We stood there for a moment, frozen in time. Then she dropped the tray, food spilling onto the ground, and ran to me. She clung to me like she would never let go. "I thought I was dead to you," she whispered. Tears burned my eyes. "Never. I looked for you, Amara. I never stopped." She pulled back, wiping her face. "I've been surviving. It hasn't been easy, but I'm still here." I saw the strength in her eyes, the same quiet strength she had always carried. But now, there was something else, something unbreakable. "Come with me," I said. "Let's start over." She hesitated, then nodded. And in that moment, I knew that even though we couldn't change the past, we could still build a future. Together.
I remember the night everything changed for Amara. It was raining hard, the kind of rain that made the earth smell fresh but also made the road slippery and dangerous. Amara stood in front of Tony's house, soaked to the bone, her thin wrapper clinging to her skin. Ezin had just thrown her out. Again. You will never be good enough for my son. Ezin's voice had cut through the night like a blade. Go back to where you came from, orphan girl. I watched from the shadows, my heart heavy. Amara did not cry. She never did. She simply turned and walked into the darkness, her bare feet splashing in the muddy water. Amara was 16. She had lost both parents when she was a child, and she had grown up doing odd jobs for people in the village just to survive. Despite her struggles, she was kind, hardworking, and had the kind of quiet strength that made people respect her. But to Ezin, Tony's mother, none of that mattered. All she saw was a poor girl with no family, someone who had no right to love her only son. Tony, on the other hand, was different. He was 18, strong, and full of dreams. He loved Amara, not out of pity, but because she was the only person who truly understood him. His father had died years ago, and his mother, Ezin, had taken full control of his life. She wanted him to marry someone from a rich family, someone who could bring wealth and status to their home. Amara was the opposite of that. The first time Tony told me about Amara, I could see it in his eyes, he was willing to fight for her. But love, as we all know, is never that simple. One afternoon, while I sat under the old mango tree outside my house, Tony came rushing towards me, his face tight with frustration. I can't do this anymore, he said, breathing hard. My mother is threatening to send me to the city. She says if I don't stay away from Amara, she will make sure I never see her again. I shook my head. What will you do? I don't know, Tony whispered. But I can't leave her. The village was small, and rumors spread like fire. People talked about Amara and Tony, some with admiration, others with scorn. Many agreed with Ezin Amara had no place in Tony's life. But a few of us knew the truth. We saw the way Tony looked at her, the way she smiled when she thought no one was watching. It was love, pure and real. Ezin's hatred grew with time. She stopped at nothing to separate them. She made sure Amara lost every job she found. The women who once gave her work refused to even look at her. The market women whispered when she passed, shaking their heads. Ezin had poisoned their minds. One evening, I found Amara sitting alone by the riverbank. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft orange and pink. She stared at the water, silent. You can't give up, I said gently. She turned to me with tired eyes. I don't know how much more I can take. But fate is a strange thing. The next market day, something happened that no one expected. Ezin was walking through the marketplace when she tripped on a stone and fell, twisting her ankle badly. She cried out in pain, but no one dared to help her. The people she once controlled now feared her. She called for Tony, but he was nowhere to be found. And then, out of the crowd, Amara stepped forward. Without a word, she knelt beside Ezin, took off her scarf, and wrapped it around the swollen ankle. She helped Ezin sit up, ignoring the sharp words that came from her mouth. Then, as if it was the most natural thing in the world, she lifted Ezin onto her back and carried her home. I walked behind them, watching the faces of the villagers. There was shock, confusion. Even admiration. Ezin fought at first, telling Amara to put her down, but Amara did not listen. She carried her all the way home, step by step, sweat dripping down her face. That night, everything changed.
Walking down this empty street, stars above, no one to meet. Footsteps echo on the ground, lonely days they come around. Winds whisper secrets to the trees. Nighttime brings me to my knees. Shadowed corners, endless sky. Can't stop asking myself why. Lonely days, lonely nights, holding on to fading lights. Heart is heavy, eyes are dry. Lonely days just pass me by.
Ezin did not thank Amara. She did not speak to her. But from that day, the whispers in the village stopped. The women who had turned their backs on Amara started greeting her again. The job she had lost slowly returned. And most importantly, Ezen never spoke against her again. Tony and Amara still had many challenges ahead, but they faced them together. And in a small way, the village learned something too, that love is not about wealth or status, but about kindness, strength, and the ability to stand by someone even when the world is against them. I tell this story not just because I was there, but because it reminds me that sometimes, the strongest people are the ones the world tries hardest to break. And Amara? She was unbreakable.